New video shows the moment a plane hit the tarmac in a fiery crash at Pearson Airport yesterday. What caused that aircraft to crash and flip over? And how did everyone survive?
And while most of those injured in that crash have been released from hospital, the investigation continues. Experts are now getting ready to piece it all together. Meanwhile, a number of flights at the airport have been canceled.
And here we go again. It's shaping up to be a wintry weather season as we're expected to receive more snow. In fact, the snow has started falling.
Well, baseball superstar Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s future with the Toronto Blue Jays seems pretty uncertain tonight after failed contract talks. We're going to get into that.
You're watching Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Bakari Savit.
And I'm Lena Latifat. Thank you for joining us here on Live at 5. It has been more than 24 hours since that dramatic plane crash at Pearson Airport. And the story has captured global attention with aviation experts from all over the world scratching their heads as they try to figure out what happened.
Okay, here's a live look at the scene and the snowy tarmac tonight. So 2 runways, they're still closed. Officials say that the wreckage of the plane is expected to remain on the apron for another 48 hours while members of the Transportation Safety Board and U.S. FAA carry out their investigation.
And you can still see that Delta jet flipped over. We're going to show you more stunning video now. This footage shared by Air Plus News really telling the story. It shows the plane touching down after hitting the runway. Part of the aircraft bursts into flames, then the jet flips upside down. What comes next is thick black smoke coming from the wreckage. Remarkably, all 80 people on board survived, but at least 21 people were injured, including a child. All but 2 have been released from hospital.
And survivors are recounting what it was like being on Delta Airlines Flight 4819 and the moment the plane crashed on landing.
Everything, drop it. Come on.
So you can hear that chaotic moments inside the jet. Video posted to Instagram shows passengers scrambling to get out. The Bombardier CRJ 900 aircraft was arriving from Minneapolis when it crashed.
Well, some Canadians trying to get home have been stranded at airports with hundreds of flights at Pearson either canceled or delayed over several days.
We were supposed to get home on Sunday, and we've been waiting since the storm, and then now with the plane crash, we are getting back on Thursday, hopefully. This is just really annoying. We don't have any accommodations right now, so we're really struggling to get somewhere to stay.
And with 2 runways closed, passengers at Pearson are dealing with multiple delays and cancellations.
It's been quite a hectic one because I just flew in internationally, and I just checked my mail upon arrival. And I was told that my flight was canceled, and I don't even have an option for the next 48 hours.
It landed here to take off yesterday afternoon, and it was obviously, we got here too late, and the airport was closed, or the runway was closed, and the flight was postponed, canceled.
So what are officials at the airport saying about what happened?
We're live to CP24's Steve Ryan at Pearson with more on that. Steve, what are you learning?
Well, Lena, we heard from the CEO of the airport today during a press conference. Now, she couldn't get into any details with regards to what may have caused this crash, of course, because that's not her job. That's the job of the Transportation Safety Board. That's a federal agency. They are the investigators that will make that determination. She was here today to provide an operational update with regards to delays. And there were delays as a result of all the snow that's fallen. And as they were just recovering from that, this crash happened. So now there are even more delays to come. But at this press conference today, present was the deputy police chief, the fire chief, and the head of the paramedics as well. And the deputy police chief from Peel Region credited the great work of the fire department for getting there as quickly as they did to put that fire out. He said that he believed lives were saved as a result. Now, the fire chief who remarked yesterday at a press conference about the crosswinds, he said there were no crosswinds and that the runway was dry. He was asked that question again by one of our colleagues at this press conference. He said that he was trying to provide transparency at the time and he couldn't speak about it any further because it is part of the investigation. So that was another question that was raised again. And of course, the weather will be part of the investigation, but it certainly wasn't time or the appropriate setting for those answers to be given today, because those people, that's not their job. That's the job of the investigators from the federal government, and they are working shoulder to shoulder with their counterparts in the United States as well. Here's a reaction from that press conference earlier on, and from an expert who we heard from too. Let's listen to both.
The remains of the aircraft will remain on the runway while the investigators are performing their reviews. We expect that could be about 48 hours. And so until that time, 2 of our runways will remain closed, and that is affecting the volume of traffic that we're having. So passengers should be looking and working with their airlines, checking our website for information on delays and potential cancellations as well for the next several days.
The recorders provide so much information, and we're so skilled at interpreting that we'll kind of build a picture from that. And I'm not sure that the video itself has a lot of investigative value at this point, although I'm sure they're going to be taking a look at it.
Like any investigation, the investigators want to see the final resting point where that plane came to rest. So this is why that will remain, the plane that is, will remain at that location for the next 2 days. And after they have taken their evidence at that location, that plane will then be transported to a more controlled environment where they will continue with their investigation. I'll send it back to the desk.
That is such a stunning shot from the tarmac at Pearson Airport tonight. Again, that Delta jet flipped over as the investigation continues, and so many wondering how this could happen. Thanks for this, Steve. 5:06 now, -8. Let's get a check on the roads with CP24's traffic specialist, Adjoa and Cia. Well, lots to talk about tonight, Adj. What's going on?
Yeah, there is a bit to talk about if you're making your way out. We continue to deal with these ongoing problems that are impacting your drive. If your travel take you onto the Toronto-bound lanes of the QEW, this is actually a brand new situation at the start of the ramp that takes you to Burloak. It is a collision blocking the right lane of that exit ramp. And then further east on the QEW, long-standing problem. But the best news I can give you is it was a vehicle which went into the ditch. It was on the QEW eastbound on-ramp from northbound Dorval, partially blocked. Ramp still is, but the vehicle which was in the ditch has been pulled out. So just a matter of time before this blocker crew leaves the scene. Then further east on the QEW, problems we're dealing with that Mississauga Road. It is a stall in the right lane. My camera's out, so I can't show it to you. Problems I can show you happening on the 401 westbound through Port Union in the collectors. Right lane blocked at the stall, and even more problems further west on the 401. This time, it's a collision in the Express near Meadowvale. Find that right lane and shoulder occupied. Now, because of these blowing snow and poor weather conditions, Highway 11 on the approach to the 400 at the 4th line is still closed following this situation. I'll send it back to you both.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
CP24's Melissa Duggan has been trying to get to Pearson this afternoon to continue our live coverage of the plane crash.
Yeah, and she joins us live now this hour. You couldn't make it to Pearson, not yet at least, Melissa, and that's because of major delays at Union. Tell us more.
Yeah, that's right. So I just managed to get on Up Express right now, leading in Bakari, but we haven't moved at this moment. Waiting for more than 50 minutes. There was a line up there ahead of me already. And while I'm on Up Express right now, there are no seats available. It is standing room only at the moment. And I'm looking out the window and see there is a long lineup. It goes out the entrance to the Up Express area here at Union Station. So just to give you an idea of this backlog. Oh, hang on a second. And we're getting an overhead announcement right now. A further delay that we're experiencing right now. Sorry, I'm just having a listen to them.
The situation. Thank you for your patience.
No details exactly why we're seeing another delay here, but earlier what we're hearing on the overhead speaker was that it's due to weather. Now, it's not snowing right now, so I asked an employee walking by, we're not seeing snow. How is weather a factor at the moment? And she said that blowing snow could be a factor, also ice buildup on the tracks, so they have to clear that up to make sure those trains go by. This train that I'm on right now was emptying a little earlier. I stopped a woman who was walking out and said, were you seeing a lot of delays? What was the process like getting here? And she said it was a really long wait to finally get onto Up Express. And she said there's a lot of volume, she believes, because of those flight cancellations. So people turning around and getting back to downtown because they couldn't get on a flight at Pearson because of those delays, those cancellations that we are seeing at the airport right now. So I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to be able to get to Pearson. I was hoping once we finally got onto the Up Express that things would start moving. But according to the overhead speaker in here, it's not clear when we're going to be moving. I also want to mention there was some advice being given too on the overhead speaker when I was in Union Station on the other side. They said anyone who's not going to Pearson that might be using this route to get to Bloor to other stations, that they should be using GO Transit instead. So there's some advice. If you were planning to take Up Express to not get to Pearson but to other places, you might want to look for an alternative.
Okay, I think that passenger behind you is a little curious about the story. Thanks so much, Melissa.
I know
it's
disrupting
really
everyone's
tight
peace
where you
right
are,
now.
too.
I
Yeah.
apologize.
All right, Melissa Duggan live on the Up Express tonight with more on these major delays. We'll check in with Melissa, and we so appreciate her reporting on this. 5:10 -9, you're watching Live at 5.
Environment Canada has issued a winter weather travel advisory for Toronto. This comes as we're still cleaning up after 2 snowstorms last week. One of 2 girls on trial for second-degree murder and the death of Kenneth Lee has pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of manslaughter.
The girl, who was 16 at the time of the killing in a downtown Parquet, entered her plea this morning. The second girl charged with murder, who was 14 at the time, also tried to plead guilty to manslaughter, but that was rejected by the Crown. Prosecutors claim she was the one who fatally stabbed Lee in December of 2022. 8 girls were charged in his death. 4 have already pleaded guilty on various charges, including manslaughter. 2 others are set for a jury trial in May on charges of second-degree murder and manslaughter, respectively.
Okay, Lena, just when we thought we were done with all that snow, Toronto's under a winter weather travel advisory tonight.
Yeah, and this comes on the heels of a major storm this past weekend. We're still digging out from that. Arda Zagarian has been talking to people about the piles of snow that remain along streets around the city. Hey, Arda.
Hi, Lena and Bakari. Well, you can see the snow has already started to fall here in Scarborough, and I know it's not happening downtown, but certainly on the east side of the city, it already has started. And the piles of snow are just huge. They're mountainous, if you will. Take a look at this car here, trapped for who knows how long it's going to be until they dig this out. And I'm just going to show you how tough this is. This is like snow and ice together. So you need a lot of muscle to get this out. Of course, a plow did this as it was plowing the street, and this car wasn't moved at the time. I actually had a chance to speak with a postman. He was going from home to home and how his day is going. He said he's had to climb over piles of snow, and it's delayed him about an hour, hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours. He said he has so much mail still to deliver. I'm actually going to show you one more thing here, because it is garbage day for many people in the city. So if you have to put out your garbage, it's recycling, and your food garbage, make sure that you do it in a way that it's easy for anybody that's going to pick it up, the waste disposal people, that it's going to be easy for them to do so. I spoke to one person earlier about how it's going for him.
Going good. I'm just preparing for tomorrow's garbage day.
That's exactly it. That's what I was just saying, that you have to make a little spot for it.
Yeah, a little space for that garbage bins. Yeah, so they make them easy, right, for the pickup.
How long did it take you to shovel your driveway?
Yesterday.
Yesterday, today.
Oh, today is not much. Yeah, and yesterday is about 2 hours.
Oh. How's your back?
I'm still feeling good.
Imagine all the snow that fell in the last few days, in the last little while, is what we got all of last winter. We haven't had a snowfall like what we had earlier since January of 2022. So it is a lot to dig out, basically, and a lot for the city to deal with, that it's going to take them 3 weeks to haul off all of the snow, the mountains of snow that you see around the city, to a designated area, because it's going to be cold too. So none of this snow is going to melt anytime soon. The next time probably we'll see some warmer temperatures, hopefully sometime in February, but the temperatures will start to warm up, I've been told, by the end of March. This is according to senior climatologist for Environment Canada, Dave Phillips, told us. Back to you.
Okay, that is a very bundled up Arda Zagarian reporting live tonight. It looks like you're ready for the snowfall. Thanks, Arda. And a reminder now about the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning after all the recent snow.
Firefighters are urging residents to clear all the snow from vents around their homes. Carbon monoxide poisoning can result from improperly vented water heaters, dryers, boilers, and furnaces. Toronto Fire says it's also a good idea to check your carbon monoxide alarms to ensure they're working properly.
Well, 2 TTC streetcar routes will be on diversion for the next 4 months as work begins on 2 major construction projects at Bathurst and Lakeshore.
It's because of water main replacement and track work. Both the 511 Bathurst and 509 Harbourfront streetcar routes will be diverted. The TTC says that it expects streetcar track work to be done sometime in May, with regular service scheduled to resume in late June after further restoration work and testing.
It's 5:17 -9 out there. You're watching Live at 5.
And coming up, the provincial election is 9 days away. The main party leaders are back on the campaign trail today after last night's leaders' debate. Ontario's main party leaders, they're back out on the campaign trail today after their final debate before Election Day.
PC leader Doug Ford was supposed to travel to Northern Ontario today, but his flight was cancelled because of the situation at Pearson.
Ontario Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie visited Hamilton today, and where she urged NDP voters to throw their support behind her party.
I'm reaching out today to NDP voters, and I'm asking them, if you want to change our healthcare system, please vote for Ontario's Liberals. And together, we can change the government. There's a lot of work to do, but only Ontario's Liberals are committed to getting you a family doctor within the first 4 years of our mandate, reducing those wait times in hospitals. We have the momentum, we have the wind at our sails, but we can't make that change without your support.
And NDP leader Marit Stiles took aim at Doug Ford during a campaign stop here in Toronto.
Under Doug Ford, life in this city has gotten harder, much harder. Finding an affordable home, impossible, right? Getting to work or school on reliable transit, it's delayed, overcrowded. Finding a family doctor, come on. And let's not forget keeping up with the skyrocketing cost of food, which is a daily battle for everyone. And why? Because Doug Ford has spent the last 7 years treating Toronto like his personal political playground, settling scores, meddling in municipal affairs, and making life worse for the people who actually live here.
Ontario Green Party leader Mike Schreiner made a campaign announcement this afternoon unveiling a plan for more affordable energy.
It starts first by providing households with incomes under $100,000 a free heat and cooling pump, modeled on the exact same programs being offered in New Brunswick and PEI. Secondly, we would remove the HST off of affordable alternative energy options for people. Heat and cooling pumps, solar panels, EV chargers, heat pump electric water heaters, so that people can remove expensive fossil gas from their homes and save money by saving energy.
And we're going to have more on the campaign trail throughout the evening. Meantime, we can tell you inflation rose slightly to 1.9% in January.
Stats Canada says relief in prices from the government's temporary tax break was offset by prices at the pump rising 8.6% last month compared with a year ago. Without the tax break, the annual inflation rate would have jumped to 2.7% compared with 2.3% in December.
It is 5:22 -9. You're watching Live at 5.
The Toronto Blue Jays and slugger Vladimir Guerrero Jr. had not reached a contract extension agreement before the deadline he set of his arrival at training camp. We have that story coming up next. Questions are surrounding the future of the Blue Jays' biggest star. This is after the team failed to reach a contract extension with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. before the deadline that he set.
For the latest on what this could mean for the slugger and the club, let's bring in CP24's Phil Perkins. This would be a huge loss, Phil.
Oh, yeah, on multiple fronts, Lena and Bakari. Not only is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. a homegrown player, meaning that he was drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays, he was developed by the Toronto Blue Jays. He's Canadian. He was born in Montreal when his father was playing for the Montreal Expos. He is also one of the best players in the league. And if you check the track record, the Blue Jays have had a pretty tough time attracting some of the best players in the league to Toronto, whether it's Juan Soto or Shohei Ohtani. Forgot about that. I tried to block that out of my brain. It's been tough. And so not only to lose a homegrown player, but one of the best players in the league, because you couldn't strike an extension before his deadline, which was today, that could spell trouble, because what that means now is there's going to be no contract talks during the season. Vladdy did not want this to be a distraction during the regular season. That means once the season is done, whenever that is, he will be a free agent, meaning he can scope the rest of the league and play for whoever is the highest bidder. And he has a magic number that he wants to get paid. We don't know what that is, but whatever it was, he told reporters today in Dunedin, Florida, that the Blue Jays and his team were not close. Here is General Manager Ross Atkins and TSN's Matt Cause getting reaction.
Obviously very disappointed. We worked very hard. The motivation is still there. Confident that every thought, idea we had, every dollar, that we had was communicated. So, but we're obviously disappointed to not have gotten that done. Doesn't change our desire. We will certainly be motivated and remain motivated.
Other teams have bigger buckets than the Blue Jays for money. What Toronto has in their advantage is he was drafted and developed here. His father played for Montreal, but they were last in the American League East. They were able to get Santander, but it's not like they did anything else. They weren't able to get a Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman. What if the team finishes around 500? The Yankees got better. Boston got better. Baltimore's got better young talent than maybe any team in the American League.
Yeah, so we haven't even seen a spring training game yet, Lena and Bakari, and already the pressure's on this team. If some team wants to trade for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. midway through the season, they could lowball the Toronto Blue Jays, because they know that Vladdy's not even going to be there potentially at the end of the regular season. So it's between a rock and a hard place right now with the front office, with this team. And again, haven't even played a single game yet. And by the way, Bo Bichette, the other star and homegrown player for this team, also a free agent at the end of this regular season, also does not have a contract extension. So things are looking pretty good, in my opinion.
All right. With the latest on the Blue Jays situation, live from the newsroom, CP24's Phil Perkins. Thanks a lot, Phil.
Thanks, Phil.
It's 5:28, holding at 9 below zero. This is Live at 5.
Delta Airlines says 19 of the 21 injured passengers taken to hospital following a plane crash here at Toronto's Pearson Airport have now been released. We're live on the tarmac. Stay with us.
New video shows the moment a plane hit the tarmac in a fiery crash at Pearson Airport yesterday. What caused it to crash and flip over, and how did everyone survive?
And while most of those injured in that crash have now been released from hospital, the investigation continues. Experts are now getting ready to piece it all together. Meanwhile, a number of flights at the airport have been canceled.
Here we go again. It's shaping up to be a historic winter. We're not done with the active weather just yet. Toronto's under a winter weather travel advisory.
And baseball superstar Vladdy Guerrero Jr.'s future with the Toronto Blue Jays seems pretty uncertain tonight after failed contract talks. We'll get into that.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Lena Latafat.
And I'm Bakari Savage. It's been more than 24 hours since that dramatic plane crash at Pearson Airport. The story has captured global attention, with aviation experts from all over the world scratching their heads as they try to figure out what happened.
Yeah, this is a live look at the scene and the snowy tarmac tonight. We are now getting a closer look at the aircraft this evening. 2 runways remain closed, and officials say the wreckage that you're looking at is expected to remain on the tarmac for another 48 hours, while members of the Transportation Safety Board and U.S. FAA carry out their investigation.
Okay, let's turn to more video. This stunning footage shared by Air Plus News, it really tells the story. It shows the plane touching down, and after hitting the runway, part of the aircraft bursts into flames, and then the Delta jet flips upside down. What comes next is thick black smoke coming from the wreckage. Remarkably, all 80 people on board survived, but at least 21 people were hurt, including a child. All but 2 have been released from hospital.
Everything, drop it. Come on.
And chaotic moments inside the jet. Video posted to Instagram shows passengers scrambling to get out of the overturned jet. The Bombardier CRJ-900 aircraft was arriving from Minneapolis when it crashed.
Well, survivors are recounting what it was like being on Delta Airlines Flight 4819 and the moments after the plane crashed on landing.
I'm perfectly fine. I have no body ache, muscle ache, bruises, scratch, nothing. But I was hanging because I was there up, and then my seatmate, he unlocked or disconnect his seatbelt, and then he fell. He fell by himself. And then when it's my turn, don't, wait, I will catch you. He cuts me, and then everything is right. I was looking for my stuff, my things, my bag, and then when the moment I hear that gasoline, the plane fuel, and then we have to hurry to get out from the plane.
And some Canadians trying to get home have been stranded at airports, with hundreds of flights at Pearson either canceled or delayed over several days.
We were supposed to get home on Sunday, and we've been waiting since the storm. And then now with the plane crash, we are getting back on Thursday, hopefully. This is just really annoying. We don't have any accommodations right now, so we're really struggling to get somewhere to stay.
Okay, so on top of that, 2 runways, they're still closed. So passengers at Pearson, they're dealing with multiple delays and cancellations.
It's been quite a hectic one because I just flew in internationally, and I just checked my mail upon arrival, and I was told that my flight was canceled, and I don't even have an option for the next 48 hours.
Landed here to take off yesterday afternoon, and it was obviously we got here too late, and the airport was closed, or the runway was closed, and the flight was postponed, canceled completely.
Well, the Transportation Safety Board released an update moments ago. The agency says that the cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder have been recovered and sent to a lab for analysis.
Yeah, the TSB also says it's too early to say what caused that crash. That's what everybody wants to know, of course. So what more are officials at the airport saying about what happened? Let's see if we learned anything there. CP24's Steve Ryan is at Pearson with more on that. Steve.
Yeah, Alina Bakari, we heard from the CEO of Pearson International Airport earlier on today, and behind her were brass from Peel Regional Police, from the Peel Paramedics, and from Peel Fire as well. And the Peel Deputy Police Chief said that he credits the great work of the Peel Fire Department getting to this location as quickly as they did. He said by them putting out that fire as fast as they did, he said they saved lives. And on a video clip that we've been playing throughout the day, remarkably, you can hear the flight crew instructing the passengers once the plane has flipped over to get out of the plane as quickly as it can. And what struck me, what caught my attention rather, was don't take any belongings. And if you recall your last flight, every time there is a pre-flight instruction, we're all reminded, if there's an emergency and you're ordered to evacuate, leave all belongings behind. Now, clearly by the videos showing people leaving that plane turned upside down, they all listened to that advice and all got out of the plane. And as we've been reporting, 2 people remain in hospital. But all things considered, when you see the damage on that plane and how it crashed on landing, it's remarkable that they are the only 2 people that are still in the hospital. So great work by all of the emergency services and by the flight crew with that Delta Airlines as well. All of them together were able to save many lives, and that comes from the Deputy Police Chief from Peel Regional Police. Here's more from the CEO from the airport and an aviation expert who we heard from earlier on. Let's listen.
This would not be a time for us to have theory or to speculate on what caused the crash. So as I shared, we have a number of agencies that are here that are responsible for doing a thorough and full and complete investigation to determine all the causal factors. And we are looking forward to getting those results and to sharing those. And those will be shared very publicly once they are received.
They're going to be documenting the wreckage on the runway very extensively, and they're going to be certainly looking for the recorders. And I think it's extremely important to contrast what you saw in the video with what we'll find out from the digital flight data recorder. That records 400 or 500 parameters and will give us a much more accurate picture of what was going on.
Now, travelers were advised by the CEO today that there will still be delays going forward. That's because they had been recovering from the snowstorm delays, and now, as a result of this crash investigation, they are still behind. So that is an expectation if we're getting a flight out of this airport anytime soon. That plane will remain at that location for the next 2 days, and that's so the investigators can have a look at where that plane came to rest. That'll be part of the investigation. And then after 2 days, that plane will be transported to a more controlled environment where the Transport Safety Board will continue with their investigation. Send it back to you guys.
Okay, thank you for this, Steve. And another live shot of the wreckage at Pearson tonight. You can see emergency workers, crews surrounding that aircraft as this investigation continues. And it is just remarkable that there are no casualties here. Well, CP24's Melissa Duggan has been trying to get to Pearson this afternoon to cover the plane crash story.
She joins us live right now. Melissa, where exactly are you? Looks like there's movement.
She's sitting.
There is movement. We took off at about 5:18 from Union Station on Up Express, just pulling up to Weston Station right now. So the stop after that finally is Pearson, but it was a long wait to get on to the Up Express. I know that Up Express online is saying that they're seeing these weather delays between 35 and 40 minutes for trains. I was waiting for well over an hour, and after this train got packed full of people, it is standing room only in here. A gentleman was just kind enough to offer me his seat right now. The Union Station waiting area was full, rammed right out the door. So just giving you an idea of the wait that you could still be seeing if you do plan on taking Up Express over the next little while. The advice is if you're not taking Up Express to get to the airport, to instead take Go Transit if that's an alternative that you can go with instead, because service certainly is very slow. Again, we're being told it's because of weather-related delays. It's not snowing right now, but I talked to a person at Union Station and they said blowing snow could be a factor, ice buildup could be a factor, and they've got to clear out those tracks to make sure that the train goes through. So that's the word coming from Union Station at this point. And I got to say, too, the overhead speaker at Union Station as well was asking people to be patient, apologizing for all of these delays, asking people to, let people pass in front of them as they're getting out of the train before we got on. And I also want to say this is my second attempt to get to Pearson today. Originally, I was taking an Uber, and our ETA was just getting longer and later and later. So I hopped to Union Station instead to hop on a train. So it's been well over 2.5 hours now of trying to get to Pearson. And looks like now we could just be about 15 minutes away. So anyway, some heads up there if you're planning on taking Go Transit over the next, or rather Up Express over the next little while, you may be encountering some delays.
Okay, making her way to Pearson Airport on the Up Express. CP24's Melissa Duggan. Melissa, thank you. And with that, it's now 5:48. Let's get a check on the evening commute with CP24's traffic specialist, Adjoa Insiaya Yeboah.
Thank you, Bakari. It has been quite the busy go if you're making your way out this hour, and problems persist on the QEW if you're traveling on the Toronto-bound side. Crews are dealing with a stall. It's mainly off to the side. It's a truck. It's at the start of the ramp that takes you to Mississauga Road, and it is the right lane that is occupied. Then up on the 401 westbound, just as you head through Meadowvale, another stall was a vehicle which slid in the right lane in that sort of snowpack. So the right lane and shoulder in the express is blocked through Meadowvale, also creating a little bit of a delay. And as you make your way on the rest of the 401, it's busy across the top of the city, but at least no live lane issues, just jammed solid. And the southbound 410, worth a mention, southbound 410, just approaching the ramps that take you to the 401. It is the 3 right lanes blocked with this ongoing emergency road work. Not emergency road work, but Highway 11 is still closed on the approach to the 400 as you try to get into Barrie at 4th Line. Shut down because of poor weather and driving conditions. I'll send it back to you both.
Thank you, Adjoa. Well, one of 2 girls on trial for second-degree murder in the death of Kenneth Lee has pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of manslaughter.
The girl, who was 16 at the time of the killing in a downtown Parquet, entered her plea this morning. The second girl charged with murder, who was 14 at the time, also tried to plead guilty to manslaughter. That was rejected by the Crown, and prosecutors claim she was the one who fatally stabbed Lee in December of 2022. 8 girls were charged in his death. 4 have already pleaded guilty on various charges, including manslaughter. 2 others are set for a jury trial in May. on charges of second-degree murder and manslaughter, respectively.
It's now 5:42 -9 out there. You're watching Live at 5.
Environment Canada has issued a winter weather travel advisory for Toronto. This comes as we're still cleaning up after 2 snowstorms last week. Well, just when we thought that we were done with all the snow, Toronto's under a winter weather travel advisory tonight.
Yeah, this comes on the heels of a major storm this past weekend, and our Arda Zakarian has been out talking to people about the piles of snow that remain along streets around the city, and I hear it's snowing where you are too, Arda.
Yes, absolutely. But piles of snow. Have you seen a pile of snow anywhere? I sure haven't. I mean, just joking. I am standing on a big pile of snow right now. This is massive. I was actually going to step into the snow to show you how deep it is, but it is really strong enough to hold me. It's filled with ice and snow. So this is what crews have to deal with. I'm going to climb down. Let's see if I can do it. So crews have to deal with taking all of this snow and putting it in dump trucks and hauling it to designated areas. It's going to take a while, about 3 weeks to get through it all. And, you know, for many people, it's garbage day or recycling day. So if you have to put out your garbage, make sure, I have a shovel in my hand to help, make sure that you actually, one-handed shovel that is, make a designated area with your shovel because it could be quite tricky to place it properly so that the garbage disposal people have an easier time getting to the waste. Now, there has been a lot of snow that fell over the weekend, and even today there's blowing snow happening. The driving conditions aren't the greatest right now, but if you are going to hit the roads, make sure that you are super careful. I spoke to one person earlier who was shoveling his driveway.
Going good. I'm just preparing for tomorrow's garbage day.
That's exactly it. That's what I was just saying, that you have to make a little spot for it.
Yeah, a little space for that garbage bins. Yeah, so they make them easy, right, for the pickup.
How long did it take you to shovel your driveway?
Yesterday?
Yesterday, today.
Oh, today is not much. Yeah, and yesterday is about 2 hours.
Oh. How's your back?
I'm still feeling good.
So if you are shoveling, make sure you are careful, that you take care of your body, your back, your arms, your legs. And the snow that's going to fall, it's going to be about 5 centimeters, but we got about 71 centimeters over the last few days. And that's more snow than we've had all winter last year. So if you're like me, you're thinking about the sunshine, the warmth, and when is that going to happen? Well, I've been told that we're going to have to wait until at least March for that to come. So here's hoping. Back to you.
Okay. All right. That's truly news you can use. CP24's Arda Zakarian. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Arda.
It's now 5:47, holding at 9 below zero. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, we're going to speak to an official at Bombardier about yesterday's plane crash at Pearson as the investigation into the cause continues. We're also live at Pearson with more on the wreckage.
Going back to our top story, the investigation's underway into what caused a Delta Airlines regional jet plane to crash on landing at Pearson yesterday.
And for more expert analysis, we turn tonight to Eugene Abramovici. He is the former chief engineer at failure analysis at Bombardier Aerospace and the president of Falcon Met Engineering. Good to be with you tonight, sir. Thank you for joining us. You obviously have a lot of experience with this specific aircraft, the Bombardier CRJ-900. We're hearing a little bit more about its troubling past. Some would say the Aviation Safety Network says it's been involved in 110 incidents over the last 24 years. What more can you tell us about the plane?
Well, I cannot comment on the 124 incidents in the last couple of years. I just wanted to make a remark looking to the accident of yesterday. It's very important to observe that the fuselage where the people are sitting in, it's absolutely untouched. It's a strong aircraft. In spite of the severity of the landing and what we can see in the video, the fuselage did not break. The people are unharmed, with the exception of maybe 18 people. But compared with other terrible accidents, that survived very well. So it's a strong airplane, and I don't know. As I said, I don't know about the other 124. Incidents, but I guess on the millions of takeoff and landings this aircraft experienced in the last 20 years, 124 accidents is not really a big number.
And when it comes to the CRJ, can you explain the relationship between Bombardier and Mitsubishi? Because we've heard that engineers from Mitsubishi are on the scene as part of this investigation now.
The aircraft was designed and constructed by Bombardier Aerospace in the late 90s, together with a whole series of CRJs, starting with CRJ 200, CRJ 700, CRJ 900. They are developments of the same idea. Later on, I think somewhere in, I don't remember exactly, but I think 2010, Bombardier sold the project to Mitsubishi. So right now it's flying. I think it's under Mitsubishi care, but the aircraft was designed and fabricated by Bombardier Aerospace.
Are you thinking about how that plane flipped over? That's what a lot of people want to know. How something like that happens.
So
Your
yesterday,
thoughts?
all day long, I don't have any special or private information about it. All I have is like you watching the television stations or the radio. Yesterday, everybody was discussing about the influence of the wind and the wind shear and all the others. But looking to the video you just present right now, we noted that the landing it's a very heavy landing. I don't know if the heavy landing is because of the sheer wind, which in the last couple of feet or 100 feet sort of pushed the aircraft down, making effectively to slam into the runway. In this situation, because of such a severe impact, absolutely the main landing gear probably collapsed and effectively left the aircraft, hitting the runway with a belly. And in this condition, one of the wings absolutely clearly touched the ground. And the moment that wing fractured was very immediately the aircraft flipped over. So it's a sequence of events. It had a very severe hard landing. This collapsed the landing gear, allowing the wings, or at least one of the wings, to touch the ground. And then, of course, after that, it flipped over. The wing fractured and the aircraft flipped over.
Eugene Abramovici, the former chief engineer and failure analysis at Bombardier Aerospace and president of Falcon Met Engineering. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your analysis. We appreciate this.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
It's 5:54, holding at 9 below zero. This is Live at 5.
The Toronto Blue Jays and slugger Vladimir Guerrero Jr. have not reached a contract extension agreement before the deadline. He said of his arrival at training camp. We're going to tell you more about that.
Well, the future of the Blue Jays' biggest star, it's up in the air as the deadline to reach a contract extension has passed.
Yeah, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. told reporters today that with no agreement in place, Toronto will have to compete with 29 other teams if they want to keep him. He added that the two sides were not close during negotiations. Jays president Mark Shapiro says the team went past their value because they care deeply about Guerrero. Despite the uncertainty, Vladdy says Toronto is where he wants to be and he'll do everything he can to stay.
A lot of progress was made over the last few days. But again, when it comes to getting a deal done, it's either done or not done. And I'm not comfortable talking about details of a negotiation. Never would be.
Obviously, very disappointed. We worked very hard. The motivation is still there. Confident that every thought, idea we had, every dollar, that we had was communicated. So, but we're obviously disappointed to not have gotten that done. Doesn't change our desire. We will certainly be motivated and remain motivated.
Other teams have bigger buckets than the Blue Jays for money. What Toronto has in their advantage is he was drafted and developed here. His father played for Montreal, but they were last in the American League East. They were able to get Santander, but it's not like they did anything else. They weren't able to get a Pete Alonso and Alex Bregman. What if the team finishes around 500? The Yankees got better. Boston got better. Baltimore's got better young talent than maybe any team in the American League.
It's 5:59, holding at 9 below zero. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
And a live look at Pearson Airport tonight. The cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder have now been recovered and sent to a lab for analysis. The Transportation Safety Board says it is just too early to say what caused the crash.
Thank you for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.